Like a virgin, you are about to be touched for the very first time. No, it really feels like it. I feel like a podcast virgin on cancel because it has been what, like 3 weeks? 3 weeks. So you have virgin cancel me baby ears, and this mic is about to pop this cherry, okay, all over again because it has been a minute. But listen up, virgins. We are actually going to be talking about virginity today. It is all on brand. It is all cohesive. You know, I got a plan. You know, we are not just talking to talk and walking a walk, but actually we are walking back into the saddle again. Okay. Thank you, Aerosmith, because we're actually going to be talking about virginity today and how, believe it or not, it's sort of a metaphor for where we're at in life and like what is going on in this apocalyptic world. No, I swear. So here's how this journey started. Besides feeling like a virgin, touching you for the very first time, touching this mic for the very first time, all over again. Like I am giddy, I am gleeful, I am gay, hopping with joy. Okay, like a little bit of nerves, a little bit of awkwardness. Like I'm feeling it all over again. And here's what extra got me feeling this type of way, okay? So I was revisiting going down, hopping down memory lane. And I was revisiting some celebrity interviews in which we talked about kind of like the naive living and blissful state of being in your youth and themes that have to do with that. So here are some examples. Like I'm not going to play all of them for you. You can go back and hit that up, hit that button on YouTube to watch some of these. But here are some examples. For instance, I talked to Allie Brooke. It's either Brooke or Brooks, okay? Sorry, my brain is a potato, so just deal with it, okay? And we talked, she's a member of Fifth Harmony, and I talked to her about how like all their songs are like, yeah, female, like do what I say, blah, blah, blah. And I say to her, we can be all about this, but once you're in the bedroom, doesn't it like women have this thing where it's like we have a hard time sticking up for what we want? Okay, that's a whole other ball of wax, neither here nor there. But she ends up admitting to me how she was saving herself until marriage. And she was like, so, again, like just giddy, like a little schoolgirl. And it was the sweetest thing. She's like, it's just like my choice in life and how I decide to live. And I just thought, even watching it back, like it was so endearing and so sweet and just like navigating that, right? Because she even said, she's like, sure, like women sticking up for what they want in the bedroom, but also what she said, like that idea of sticking for this like livelihood choice that I make for myself and like, going down that path. Like what a moment, you know what I mean? Like what a journey. Another example, and we're going to revisit this, is when I talked to Ashley Rickards. Now, Ashley was the star of MTV's show Awkward. I don't know if you've watched it. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So put your two remaining brain cells together and figure it out. So anyway, she and I are talking about her hilarious, like very, very relatable losing her virginity story. And just how it was like, sweet. She wouldn't change anything, sort of underwhelming, a little bit awkward, pun intended, sure. And she's like, afterwards, we like, how peak high school is this? She's like, afterwards, we went to the City Walk, which is this really tacky, cheesy, universal attraction in LA. For those of you who don't know, she's like, we went to City Walk and went to an Italian restaurant and got breadsticks. Like peak high school. I am there. I am the waiter. Like it's happening. Okay. But again, it's like that idea of like when you're in it and it's like all fresh and new and you don't know it at the time, you know what I mean? Like you're young and dumb, but you're just like going along with it. And it's just like a moment cherished in time. Okay. Here's my third example because third time is a charm, bitch. When I interviewed To All the Boys I Loved Before cast, but I talked to the boys and these are all guys, like I assume in their early 20s. Right. And I talked to them about in real life, because, To All the Boys is a Netflix show, like cute rom-com thing. Guys, bear the fuck with me. Okay. And I talked to them about hitting on girls and making the move first in real life. And it's kind of funny and it's kind of cute because they all have sort of different, like they talk about if someone came up to them, how they would feel, or navigating if like they're digging it, they're digging the vibe, digging on you, like TLC would say, and go up to somebody and approach them, and that whole like what's going on in their, testosterone brains, right? But needless to say, going back and revisiting these made me really think, like, I've talked on this show about how there seem to be so many perks of getting older. You got your shit figured out. You give less fucks. You're living, you're wise. You are Gandalf the Grey's protege. Like, you are just living. You have nothing to prove, and you know all, right? And so there's such a contrast to like everything I just mentioned, and to also the glory of getting older. Well, guess what? Wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Actually, it seems not. Thank you very much to the Sex and the City reboot that fucking destroyed us. And I know there are a lot of guys who listen to my show, so you don't have to watch Sex and the City. You don't have to know about it. I'm going to give you like all the info you need to know. Okay. So don't worry about it. Here's what you do need to know up front. And this is what I bring it back, backing that ass up, thanks to Juvenile, to the aforementioned metaphor. It feels like, all of these stories and that moment of being in your youth or losing your virginity or whatever it is, again, when like you're young and naive, isn't that life pre-pandemic? Isn't it? Like, it is life whenever, like, we were just jumping for joy and we had no idea what was about to hit us. We had no idea. Like the sumo wrestler that was about to sit on our face, that would be 2020 and the preceding 2021. And this Sex and the City reboot, and I'm going to explain why, is life like current life, pandemic and post-pandemic. And I couldn't help but wonder why, just why. Okay. Like, we're going to get into this, but just leave the pure, precious moments untouched. All right. And so before I get into this more, that's my little intro that I just pulled out of my magician's hat, AKA my ass. Do you like these new surroundings? Ya girl. She's in Palm Beach County, hoes. We've relocated. We got these. It's really unfortunate because there's a really pretty view. You know what? Maybe I can just try and show you. This is going to like fuck up my whole setting, but I'm that committed to letting you in on this. All right. Before I continue on this path. Okay. Cause this episode, by the way, is going to be like a very like going into the new year and where we're at and like, holy shit, like I said, rubbing those two brain cells we got left together. All right. I'm trying to show you. Okay. This is a struggle. I'm trying to show you this view. It's eating up my time, but there we go. Okay. You see, yes, that is, there's like lake, there's trees, like really getting you in on this Florida vibe. We're rocking around the palm trees. We're shaking our coconuts and we're having a good time. So yes, out of the tri-state, sadly, down here in Florida, here are the new digs. Welcome. Now let's get this shit popping. Okay. So this has really been on my mind. So the Sex and the City reboot, it's been like, 20 years. They did all these movies. Okay. Now they're doing this reboot and like everyone's old and gray. And so here's the situation. All right. Because it's been on my mind and everyone's talking about it. And like I said, I feel like it may seem silly. It's like, okay, it's a, frivolous comedy show. Like Taylor, how are you about to make the parallel to like our lives? But it really is true. Okay. So first off, they create this reboot and everyone is saying, they're calling it woke in the city. They're like, it is forced wokeism, like knock it off. Like, of course you have the non-binary person, you have the this, you have the that. It's like, okay, nobody asked Carrie Bradshaw. Nobody asked. Okay. And if you really need a refresher, Sex and the City is an iconic HBO show. Like truly, if you are living, like if you think that this is the time of Hitler and you're living in a bunker, friends, I'm about to update you. Okay. And it ran It's funny because actually I don't know exactly. I don't know. It was the 90s or 2000s. Okay, but it's followed the life of like a sex columnist, Sarah Jessica Parker, Carrie Bradshaw, and her friends. And they are just like independent women who fuck everyone you've ever seen in New York City, make no apologies, have a good time, blah, blah. Okay. So all of a sudden now they have the audacity 20 years later, and it's like nobody really asked. Again, let it be in the past. No one asked. But what did they do? It's crazy because this show, I mean, it was a really like it won Emmys, right? She's a writer. So you think they would know how to read a room, but no. Okay. Because here's why. They kill off, sorry, there's going to be spoilers. Like you need to know. They kill off arguably the most iconic character in the first episode, okay? Fans have been living in despair, anxiety, death, loss, losing their loved ones, losing jobs, like losing their companies, losing their homes, losing their marbles. Do I need to go on? I don't think so, okay? So these people couldn't read the room. Now, 20 years later, people are like fans, diehard fans of the show are like, oh my God, the reprieve I need, the comedy, the escape, the frivolous, sexy, fun, lifestyles of these successful women who don't give a shit in New York City. What an escape. No. What do? They kill off Mr. Big in episode 1. And then episode 2 is his funeral. Are you fucking serious? First of all, the entire series was wrapped around this man, okay? Because they meet in the pilot and then the whole goddamn series is about this man. Now, let me give you a little bit of context, okay? This is like telling your 5-year-old that Santa Claus blew up in a fire. That is what this is. Like, are you kidding me? First of all, this is the man who, even my mom, she will only watch episodes with Mr. Big. This is the man that probably millions of women have gotten off to for over 2 decades. He is Mr. Big, like the quintessential manly man, like your ovaries don't stand a chance. He is big and brooding and handsome and successful and rich and witty and charming. Like he is Mr. Big. He is the show. So these assholes kill him off and then have his funeral in the second episode. Like, have we not been through enough? But that's not the worst of it. Okay. Here is, okay, what really had me feeling a type of way, because even J-Lo has to be reeling right now. Okay. So these characters are supposed to be in their 50s. And this is like the geriatric parade of society led by the Grim Reaper. First of all, everyone looks like they're knocking on their own grave. Okay. They're older and they're gray, and Miranda, one of the women, Steve, her husband has a hearing problem. Miranda herself has gray hair. And these are supposed to be smart, accomplished women, and they look like numbnuts when it comes to navigating woke issues. Miranda's supposed to be a lawyer. She's over here, can't even have a conversation about race, idiot. Okay. And they also can't even hold their own and are making themselves out to be a bunch of idiots compared to Gen Z, as if Gen Z runs the world. Are you, what is happening? Why are you putting this entire premise and these characters in a blender harder than Martha Stewart? Knock it off. But let's get back to the physicality, okay? Because it's again, they're going to look different all these years later. And that was the appeal of it in the beginning. It's they're young, they're sexy, they're successful, they're out living extravagant lives. Like I said, having sex, exploring relationships, all this. Now, there's dad bod, there's gray hair, there's Steve's hearing aid. Like I said, he can't fucking hear. Miranda's an alcoholic. She's gone gray. What is going on? And they're stupid and can't even hold a conversation with a Gen Z. I'm sorry, excuse me. You had a famous column in a New York newspaper. Are you joking? Stop it. Knock it off right now. Okay. With the Alzheimer's. Oh, and then the death, of course. How could we forget? So, but also it's these are supposed to be people in their 50s. Again, J-Lo was on a stripper pole, like on your unibrow 5 seconds ago. And I'm pretty sure she's like 50, 51. So it's like, what is the point? What is the reason? Like, I need to know. Okay. So, and obviously fans are saying this because they're like, why is this an old people's home? This is not like, what is the purpose of this? Like, I get it. You're trying to show that later in life you deal with some shit, but like the hearing, I'm sorry, my 87-year-old grandpa has a hearing aid. Like, Steve has no business. Knock it the fuck off. Okay. So obviously the people who are involved in the show are upset by this flack and, defend it. And most notably is Kristen Davis. Okay. Because she talks about how she said she's very upset, quote, upset by people commenting on how they look old. And here's the thing, like, I'm never, to this day, your girl's not going to be over here defending, like trolling or bullying or making fun of someone's appearance. Like, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Okay. Like, in this parallel universe, in this simulation that we are actually in, or the next. However, we are physical human beings. Okay. And if you're lucky, God willing, with eyeballs that can see. So bitch, we can't just be like, have amnesia and be like, oh, it's gonna look weird. Like, we're gonna notice, like I said, like the gut, the gray hair, the little sag, the this, the that, like the plastic surgery. Like, that's the first thing. When I talked about this with people, I said, do they look so different? Right. I mean, we're watching you it's a visual medium. Like, we are going to notice. We're physical people. So you need to stop it with that. Like, come on, give us a little break. Now, this whole thing got me thinking, okay? And I couldn't help but wonder, as Gary Bradshaw would say, what is it with us with, it really got me thinking, like, about what people will do to, I get it, especially in such a horrible, toxic, confusing, anxiety-ridden time. Like, I get we want to live in the old days and relive the old days, but it's a combination that got me thinking of that and like the extent that people will go to be relevant again. And like I said, kind of like relive the good old times and like your virginity, bitch. It's like, just let it be there. I don't care if it's like a reboot. Listen, here's an example. Okay. I went to Vegas a couple of years ago and I saw, like, talk about nostalgia, talk about reliving your youth and the good old times. And when you wore a training bra and when your braces were flossy. Okay. Went to a Backstreet Boys concert. I was there for a couple hours, reliving the good times. And that was it. Like, that's, it was like a little time capsule back to the good old days, back when like I probably like masturbated with a Walkman. Okay. And that was it. Like, you don't stay there. So it's like, stop trying to mesh the two. You know what I mean? It's like, that was like the perfect little dose, but I'm not going to be a groupie and following them to every one of their fucking shows because I live in this current, I don't live in 1999 anymore. Again, unfortunately, however, I don't. Like, let it be there. And I'm going to bring it back to what Ashley Rickards said when we had our virginity talk. I might play a clip because I'm going to play a clip in a minute. Speaking of sex, right, and reboots and reliving the past, my talk with the Jersey Shore cast. But it reminded me back to Ashley when I asked her about her virginity. She was so funny. She said, I wouldn't change anything. Was it sort of awkward and weird? Yes, like all of us, right? Probably, like, unless you're an alien. And she said, like, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't piece it back together. And then she was funny. She's like, physically you can do that. So it's like you're a virgin all over again, but you get what I mean. And losing virginity. What would you not want to re-experience again?
I mean, I'm not like looking to like put it back together and redo it. You can do that nowadays. You can get it sewn back together and then go and do it again. I know, it's a thing. No, thank you.
No, it was bad enough the first time. Yeah, you would not want to relive.
No, like emotionally it was like great and cool, but like it was also not. It was sort of like, oh,
it's like, just let it be there. Like, let let it do its thing. Let it be where it is or was in time. And that's it. Like, just stop. So Jersey Shore, perfect example again of like sex crazy, folks, like these Jersey muscle heads, right? Like I was all about Jersey Shore, like in my Penn State dorm on a Thursday night at 9:00, bitch, on Thursday. Like that was our pregame. You could not convince me otherwise. And I have no regrets. But I'm just saying, like, you would follow these people. Remember the smush room? Like, all they did, they lived to have sex. Like, they were young, arguably attractive, out in the Jersey Shore, getting paid by MTV. Like, what a time. Lo and behold, just like Sex in the City, right? Being relevant, reliving, living in the past. They end up doing a reboot. Luckily, who was there and present on that red carpet but me? And so, because I apparently reside and sleep in a DeLorean time machine, I asked them about this and I said, what is different when it comes to sex then and now? Because now they have all this baggage a la Sex in the City, right? Like kids and marriage, yada, yada. So check this out, okay? A visual experience, hopefully an audio experience. If not, you got to check out the vid. But here's what they had to say.
Just here, you make the hole, I'll make the, and then I'll bring like that.
It's happening.
It's been like a decade, right, since you guys were first on.
Yeah.
Now you're a mom, you're a wife. How has all this time changed your perception of sex?
Rest of the question.
I'm from the East Coast too.
I like it. That's why I relate. No, I like it.
There's time to make love and there's time to
When you just want to go.
fuck.
It's kind of irrelevant when you have 2 kids.
It changed my perspective because now I have a kid on the way.
That's right.
So now I'm actually afraid of women. I'm actually like scared of you women.
Yeah, when I was single, it's a totally different situation.
Because I feel, no pun intended.
I try and make it happen because I still love my husband. But yeah, it's like non-existent.
I feel like back then, right? You're like, yeah, let's fuck. Now is it like sweet love making, or is it still like, yeah, let's fuck?
Oh,
Sex actually leads to kids. I put it only
like,
like to
no.
pleasure.
I didn't know we were speaking like that, because if we was,
Oh, we're going the whole way.
those type of such activities are necessary for a healthy relationship.
I know what you guys can do.
Have babies, you mean?
The situation is a one-woman man right now.
Okay, that's fair, that's
I'm
fair.
with my college sweetheart.
Sometimes we like to drink a bottle of wine and just go to town.
I know you say, like, you joke, like, there's, like, no sex that happens now, but does sex get better with age?
I mean, it depends on you. Don't be lazy.
That's right, bitch.
Stop being lazy.
Take a note, boys.
Yeah.
And think so.
I'm gonna come out with a birth control pill. It's gonna be called Vinny.
Why is Vinny? I would make I'm just saying.
Oh, get that on camera.
So you see what I mean? It's kind of a mixed bag. Like you have Snooki, like the queen, the creator, the woman who coined the smush room. Okay. Like literally having sex with everyone on the Jersey Shore, with the boardwalk, with the bar, with the sand when she face planted, like everybody. And I'm not slut shaming, like she owned it, but I'm saying even her. And she's like, yeah, it's irrelevant. Like, does not exist. She's like, I basically have to funnel a bottle of wine, like slap the bag, speaking of college, to get it out with my husband, right? You have Ron over here who's like, I used to think sex led to pleasure, but it actually leads to kids. And so I'm afraid of you, woman, because next thing you know, your uterus will be on my head and I will be a father. Like, are we having a good time? So this is what I mean. Like the only one holding it down is the situation. And are you surprised? Can you blame him? Right? But it's that idea. It's like, guys, maybe, we can accept the fact that, adulthood is different than where, you were then in the good old days. But stop, like, why are we trying to mesh the two? It doesn't turn out well. It just doesn't. Like, it's not looking good. It's not the same thing with Sex in the City, and that's okay. It's okay that adulthood, is shit. No, I'm just kidding. Contrary to, unfortunately, my view earlier, which is like, can't we all be older so we have our shit figured out and like life is easy peasy lemon squeezy? Like, these are the kinds of messages I want from entertainment and pop culture. Like, and we're going to get to this in the finale. Okay. Like, get ready to come to that moment. All right. Get ready to arrive to that conclusion. Okay. But instead, what's happening is like, they're trying so hard to bring that what was into now. And it's just making us more goddamn depressed in every way because we're watching this and we're like, we are not having fun. We are not, is this a fun time? We are not having a fun time. And this is the way to do it too. Like now that I was thinking about it, I'm like, I get it. Like reliving the past again, like the Backstreet Boys concert, you know, it's a nice little escape. It's a nice little whatever. Like you're looking at Nick Carter and you're like, oh my God, my nipples are like, they're feeling a type of way like they did in that limited to sports bra. Like I get it. Okay. But here are some, like I brought this up before, but the Friends reunion, perfect. They're doing table reads. They're doing like interviews because they are self-aware enough to know like they look old. It's not the same. Like I'm not old people shaming. I'm just saying, like I said, I'm excited for that time in life because like what the fuck is going on right now. Okay. But I'm just saying like they read the room, like they provided a fun escape. They acknowledged it was a long ass time ago. And it was like, oh my God, I have had it on repeat in my brain. You know, like I said, my 2 brain cells are playing Ring Around the Rosie and have that shit on loop every day because it was a perfect, fun night. I just combined fun and nice, like the most basic bitch adjectives, but you get it. It was the perfect escape. Another one, because I was going down this path today, was do you guys remember how the Brady Bunch freaking cast reunited? And they weren't trying to pretend like Marsha Brady is over here, you know, shading Jan and pouring her orange juice. Like, no. They end up doing this very sweet HGTV special, which you got to make your way over. Like, honestly, get on your Razor scooter and go to my YouTube and watch this because we kind of talk about these themes too. But they did an HGTV special where they renovated the original Brady house. Like, what a time. That's what I'm talking about. So anyway, we talked in my interview with them. We talk about these kind of themes, like the contrast of, you know, this squeaky clean show and their real challenging lives. And also like how a show like that would never go now because like we all apparently just want to slit our wrists all day, right? And reflect what's really going on now, apparently a la Sex in the City. But anyway, we talk about all this, so you got to check it out. But that is what I'm talking about. Like serve that shit up like hotcakes. Okay. Like I'm here for it. Now, here's the problem. Like people with the Sex and the City reboot, they're like, you know, this is the problem. This is what they tried to do. They're like, even the show is in New York City, like right when they're coming out of the pandemic. And it's like, oh my God, we are living it, bitch. I don't need to be seeing it on here. Right. That's number one. But it's also like, that's why like they tried. They're like, we can't ignore like the state of the world we're in now. So we're going to be realistic. And it's like, nobody asked. Here's what is like, this is the bleak as fuck. So Cynthia Nixon, who's in the show, okay, who ditched her red hair and is now like giving Mrs. Claus a run for her money in her mid 50s. The audacity. Again, J-Lo did not pave the way for this shit. Okay. Sip of coffee on that one. So here's what she said about defending the show's like very dark, depressing, bleak themes. Like this is not the Sex and the City we wanted. She said, no, literally, like get ready to jump off a cliff. She goes, there's more life behind you than there is ahead of you. You're very aware of that. Thank you. It's like, how existential? It's like, why even bother? So she says that defending why they're dealing with all of these like adult heavy, you know, grief and death and all these themes that they didn't used to. It's like, no, it's the reality. And especially in a pandemic stricken world, it's like, oh my God, it's like, how fucking bleak. It's like, well, why even bother? Really, really depressing. So that brings me to the bigger picture here, guys, is that I get it. Like, I get what they're trying to do. And I get what entertainment and content like this is trying to do. It's trying to like capture, you know, the true and utter like horror of where we're at. And I think there's something to be said about the fact that like, take the Sex and the City reboot, right? It's like back then, it's like the virginity, like it was untouched. It was innocent. It was pure. And now it's all this depressing, you know, moments in life. And it got me thinking, it's like, well, right, that's how the world is now. You know what I mean? There's just such a contrast. Like, it's just not, we're not in the same world that we were in. And so I feel like we're in this like tango, you know, but not in a J-Lo and Richard Gere way. Like, we're in this tango of grappling with what was and the world we're in now, which is divide, which is illness, which is anxiety, which is uncertainty, which is loss, which is so much. It's not the same place. So here's my thing. It's like, I get that and I can acknowledge that. And that's something I grapple with on a daily basis because I always am reliving my quote old life. But it also feels like we're trying to usher in to what actually is. It's very, very, it is not, again, we are not having fun. Like, it is not a fun time because you're like, wait, I feel like you're trying to piece it back together. And you're like, I feel like that is what was just going down and what was happening. But like, why, again, am I living in the Grim Reaper's fantasy? So we're trying to like figure out how to move forward and also like kind of like piece back what was, but it's just not the same. And that's what they try to do here. It is not the same. It's not the same Sex in the City. It is not, we're not in the same world. And what happens when you try to mesh the two? It ain't cute. So here's what I have to say, because we are going into a new year. And you know, on this show, on Cancel Me, Baby, on Cancel Me, Baby, I like to keep you entertained and uplifted, and I like to put a little pep in your step. So listen, okay? Yippee-ki-yay, bitch. We are about to go into a new year. And does it really serve us? Like everything that I just mentioned, does it really serve us to live in the past or try to piece it together or try to make it fit for now? You know, this Sex in the City thing, it may be a silly example, but it's a perfect example. It's like, it ain't working. It ain't working. So I say we put our best foot forward. All right. We put our best foot forward with sans, you know, geriatric shoes, saggy balls, put our best foot forward. And I'm going to leave you with this because I love people who talk about aging in a way that is like empowering and uplifting and exciting. So here for you to end on this note and have something to, God damn it, look forward to is Dennis O'Hare. This is when like Fetus Taylor with red hair was out on the red carpet. One of my first selfie stick interviews on Talk to Me with Dennis O'Hare, the American Horror Story star. He's gay, he's fab, he's awesome. And I asked him, don't know why, but I did. Okay, again, thank you to the time travel capsule that I reside in. I asked him, like a fine wine, does sex get better with age? And look at what he says.
Do you think that like wine, sex gets better with age? And why?
You know, I think that sex is wasted on the young in many ways because they have all the ability and all the beauty, but do they actually have the ability to understand how lucky they are?
And know how to use what they got.
And use what they got, exactly.
Use it instead of just throwing it around in places.
You know what? I've had great sex at my age. Let's put it that way.
Fine.
Telling you, baby.
So I have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
And just like that, thank you, Dennis O'Hare. That is what I'm talking about. All right. Forget the hearing aid, saggy ball energy. All right. Forget that. It's out the window. It's gone. Stop living in the past. Move forward with this Dennis O'Hare, big dick, great sex energy. 2022. It's going down. And hopefully we will no longer be living in an actual American Horror Story. Thank God.